I'm Amy Blau. I'm Scholarly Communications Librarian and Repository Manager at Whitman College. Um, and so for this showcase, I'm going to talk about some of our recent alternative pathways into the digital collections within our repository, Arminda. And so that's specifically taxonomies and views that are supporting these new pathways. Arminda contains our institutional repository materials consisting of undergraduate honors theses. We are an undergraduate-only institution, and some additional student and a few faculty works, and our Born Digital and digitized archives collections. So across all of our collections, our object types include PDF, images, audio, video, and paged content for newspapers. We have three main levels of access control. There's administrator-only access, authenticated user access, and open access. And our repository team currently has 4 members: myself, Paige Morfitt, Tracy Tolf, and Alexis Hickey. And thank you. If people were here for Noah's presentation earlier, he gave you a little bit of an overview of some of our particular collections. So I'm going to talk about just a couple of things in particular, not kind of the big overview. A little bit of history. We first established Arminda, which is our little backronym for Accessible Research Materials in Digital Archives. Arminda Fix was Whitman College's first librarian. We established this first as a digital commons site in 2016. We migrated to an Islandora 7 site with Born Digital as our vendor in 2018, 2019. And then to the new Islandora in 2021, 2022. And this migration was supported by IMLS grant funding for the Lyricist project, Fedora Migration Paths and Tools, a pilot project. So we do include Fedora in our stack, even though it's no longer a required component of every Islandora stack. The main role Fedora is playing for us currently is we do have sort of a fly system access to digital objects through that Fedora layer. In the future, we're hoping to take advantage of some of the OCFL affordances. We are not at that point yet. So to talk about our new pathways to collections, I need to give a little bit of background about a couple of affordances of the new Islandora. So one of these is the linked agent field, also known as the contributor field. This is where names such as creator or author, contributor, illustrator, publisher, etc. These appear as taxonomy terms so that they can be linked through the site. So this has a lot of advantages for the standardization of names across the site, but it did require some customization to allow the creator role to be used as a filter when you're looking at sort of a sort of records view in the repository. In setting up our site, we chose to make custom fields to use with our honors theses for department and for advisor. And those were not included in sort of your standard drop down of those linked agent or contributor roles. But we weren't able to set those up as filters in our collection view without sort of additional customization. So that's kind of the background to where some of this is coming from. You'll see an example in a minute. The other thing that's important to talk about are views. So views have been part of Drupal core starting in Drupal 8. They've been as part of Drupal for a long time. And basically views are how you filter and sort to display your content or information about content. Like everything you see when you're looking at Drupal, my understanding is through a view anytime content is visible on the site. But when they became core with Drupal 8, it meant that the ability to expose specific combinations of Drupal nodes in either administrative or public-facing pages became a lot easier. So let me show you on our site what this ends up meaning for us, both of these different kind of pieces of background information. So within our honors thesis collection, you can see we have, and if we, it's sort of a relevant sort right now, not by date, but you can see in our facets here or filters, we have creator and we have graduation year, but the advisor and the department don't show up there. You can click on the taxonomy term for department, and you can then see a list of theses that use that term for department, but it could include, this doesn't at the top include, it could include things that are not theses if they're associated with history department. And this list isn't really sortable. It doesn't give you all the information you might want to really navigate from within that particular set of items. There's a strong use case for filtering by department. Our rising seniors and prospective majors want to be able to find model theses. It's really a useful way to look for things. But we weren't able to, as I said, sort of do that custom development to pull out the department term as a filter. And so our solution was to make a new view using sort of built-in capability of Drupal views. And this meant I could make a new publicly available display. I, as a site administrator, could do this without being a Drupal or Islandora developer. And within that display, I had a range of options to include different fields and to sort content. So this is a little image of what it looks like from the public-facing side. I'm going to click over to the back end and talk a little bit about this. So, I mean, I ended up making a number of individual pages rather than one single sortable page for the public view. This is a little bit, looks a little clunky on the back end, I guess, but I think there are some advantages to having a page for each department. It makes it easier to link to from various departmental resources, for example, without requiring users to then also do a filter. When the theses appear for the public, they're pre-sorted chronologically in a table which shows title, author, department, and advisor information. So let me show you what this looks like on the back end and the front end. So from the back end, you can see this is our list of views. And you can see that I've got one for each of our sort of majors. And if I pull over a little bit, there's a link from here to the public facing page and then also to edit it. And so if we look, I was looking at the history things. When you look at the edit version, you can see what is included when we look at the table, what the filter criteria are. And this is all editable by anyone who has that administrator access. If I take myself back over to the site, so public facing, if you look at our honors thesis by department webpage, you have all of the links there. And if you click through on any of them, you can see then, here's that table view that we saw a little image of on the slides. We have the author, creator here. We have the advisor here as that taxonomy term that's linked. We have the department also. Like I said, already sorted chronologically with the year displayed and a link straight through to the thesis page itself. And that's really easy to navigate. You do have to use the back button to go back. It's not part of the breadcrumbs, unfortunately. There may be some ways to customize that a little bit more once I do more with views. This was my first outing. And so we were pretty excited to be able to access these materials through this particular organization in a way that we could really control ourselves without needing to pull in developer time. So I want to move in a completely different direction now and talk a little bit about a display issue in a different situation. Our archives has undertaken a collaborative project with a number of Métis families. These are mixed Indigenous and French Canadian families, to digitize their family photographs in a post-custodial way. So we've digitized their photographs, we've returned the originals to the families, and the digitized versions are included in our archival collections. This is part of a larger research project led by Sarah Hurlbert, who's a professor of French here, who has been investigating the family networks and histories together with representatives from these families. We have an exhibition related to this research project that's currently on display at the Sheehan Gallery at Whitman College. So if you happen to be coming through Walla Walla, Washington, anytime the next couple of months, please come visit. It's very impressive in person. And some, but not all, of the Métis families of the Columbia River Plateau photographs that the archives has made available through Arminda are included in that exhibition. And so as part of what we have available in Arminda, we were asked to indicate in Arminda which of these photographs are part of the exhibition. Our first approach to this was to try to use a taxonomy term, and we put it in the genre field, slightly unconventionally perhaps, but that was the decision we made. And so I'm going to show you what that looks like. And we have sort of 4 separate sub-collections in this overarching collection. And when you click the taxonomy term, you see them all together. And there's not really a lot of order in that. So let me click over into our Métis families of the Columbia River Plateau collection. And you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of these family photograph collections. I'm going to click into, oh, I already did over here, the Pambrin collection. So Pambrin family photographs, all of these are actually also in the exhibition, which makes it a little easier to navigate here. You can see they're all, that shows up in the genre field here. If we click genre here, we'll see the 100 that are in this collection only, right? This is just filtering within the collection for what's there. In order to look at everything that is linked with that genre field, we need to go into an actual item and to the metadata for that object. And when we click here, then we get not just the items that are in the Pambrin collection, but also items that are in the other 3 sub-collections of our Métis family photographs. So, and less obvious to you, more obvious to me, because I've been working with these photographs, we've got other family names in there, so I know that they're all in there. But we don't see how many items there are here easily. We do have a little bit of descriptive information as well as the thumbnail and the title, but it's maybe not as much information as a user would really like to have to navigate through. So what we decided on was to make a new collection. So Islandora objects can be a member of more than one collection. And our exhibition collection can contain members from all 4 sub-collections. Because we're using a bulk metadata update, we were able to quickly apply a new parent collection to our relevant objects. And the collection view is easier to navigate. So I'm going to go back to our Métis families. You can see we made this collection here that also shows up as a sub-collection. And when you look in that sub-collection, this picture and family sub-collection, you can see, okay, it's a member of, and it breaks down which of the other sub-collections things are in, and you can filter on that. They all still have our taxonomy term, but you can see when you navigate through this, it's much easier to see more information. We're using the creator field a little bit unconventionally here to show who's pictured, because we can then take advantage of our filter over here and use those taxonomy terms to view things. So our takeaways here, anytime you work with taxonomy terms, you find the inconsistencies that have crept in. So that was useful to see. We needed to clarify some of our policies when we're using our taxonomy terms maybe a little bit unconventionally. But I think our main takeaway from this work in these 2 separate instances was that the new platform affordances really open some interesting possibilities for us. So I'll stop there and answer any questions that you might have, or I can click through on some things if you would like to see them.
Thanks, Amy. I think there is a comment in the chat. It just says, do you have a way to keyword search within sub-collections? Could you do this with a view?
Oh, that's a good question. We have sort of the standard search within collections. So you could search, okay, let me share my screen again real quick. Where'd that go? Here, share. If we're in, we can do this sort of standard search within a collection. And so we could search within one of the sub-collections, or we could search within our exhibition collection. So, I don't know, what we would want to look at. There's a nice one of cars, maybe they'll show up. So you can do that, sort of more directed in subsections. I think we would do this search in the picturing family exhibit, and then you would need to kind of filter as usual. I don't think we can get more granular than that with our current setup. Somebody who's more on the developer side who might be here maybe can chime in if there's something that I'm not aware of there, but that's probably how I would manage keyword searching in those collections and try to subdivide them out. Thanks,
Yeah,
Nicole.
I agree, Amy. It should work within any of those parents when there's multiple parents, and you could write a view to do something far more complex if you wanted to.
I think that there's not really limits on what you can do with views. You just have to know how to do it. And I sort of moved into this summer because we really wanted to get these done this summer. I think that with a little bit more time and research, there would be ways to kind of zhuzh these up a little or make them a little bit, potentially ways to make some of the views look more like collection views for those theses. But this was where I stopped this summer. And so maybe next summer I'll kind of get to wade in again and see what I can do to enhance that experience a little more.
Thank you. Any other questions for Amy? Awesome. Well, we appreciate your peek under the covers, or, kind of little showcase about Arminda. That was definitely super helpful. So thank you.
Well, thanks very much.